Hari was taken aback by Leon's words and thought, what was he even saying? Her teammates sought guidance from Hari on what they should do. With determination, Hari realized that she couldn't afford to waste time. Recognizing Leon's lack of interest in anything other than Dullahan, she decided they needed to focus on stopping Dullahan first. With determination, Hari instructed everyone to support Section Chief Kim and sprinted toward Dullahan, who stood amidst a swarm of skeletons. Using one of the skeletons as a stepping stone, she launched herself toward Dullahan, swinging her sword at him. However, to her surprise, Dullahan effortlessly blocked her attack. Undeterred, Hari acknowledged the need to separate Dullahan from the crowd of skeletons. Suddenly, Hari noticed Dullahan's detached head near her. She couldn't believe her eyes as she realized that Dullahan had thrown his head to obstruct her view. Perplexed by this unconventional fighting style, Hari found herself momentarily disoriented. Taking advantage of the distraction, Dullahan struck Hari with a punch. Although she managed to block the attack with her sword, the impact sent her flying a considerable distance. Despite the setback, Hari was relieved that she had successfully separated Dullahan from the other skeletons. Dullahan swiftly closed the distance and swung his greatsword at Hari, but she reacted quickly, evading the attack and remarking that the range of her skills was too large. Her subsequent strike landed on Dullahan, engulfing him and the surrounding skeletons in flames. Hari realized that her attack had inflicted significant damage. Hari then launched another attack. However, Dullahan retaliated and blocked Hari's next sword strike. Hari was surprised that Dullahan had managed to block it with the blunt side of his blade. As Dullahan prepared to attack again, Hari, unable to find an escape route, closed her eyes in fear, aware that she had no way to avoid the imminent danger. Just then a loud voice reverberated across the field, and an air of astonishment filled the atmosphere. Following the voice, a distinct sound of clapping resonated, drawing everyone's attention to Leon. Addressing Dullahan, Leon expressed his admiration, praising his exquisite sword skills despite only using one hand. Leon speculated that Dullahan must have been a noble knight in his previous life and offered his apologies for mistaking him as a mere undead. With confidence and authority, Leon declared that he, the King of the Lion Heart, would grant Dullahan the right to challenge him. He suggested ending the fight without further casualties by engaging in a noble duel between two knights. Hari, Kim, and even the skeletons themselves stared at Leon with confusion, unable to comprehend his audacious move. They all shared the same thought. Could Leon really have challenged the boss to a duel? It seemed improbable. For a brief moment, Dullahan remained motionless, as if contemplating the proposition. Then, with a decisive movement, Dullahan inclined his head forward, indicating acceptance of the duel. Leon's bold strategy had succeeded, and the unexpected turn of events left everyone astonished. Standing near Dullahan, Leon addressed him as a knight of honor, suggesting that he could lower his neck. Leon speculated that Dullahan was skilled in wielding two swords, implying that a one-handed weapon alone wouldn't provide a proper battle. Displaying his own prowess, Leon retrieved a sword from his storage space. Hari hesitantly addressed Leon as Your Majesty. Leon responded, inquiring about the matter. With concern in her voice, Hari explained that the Dullahan wouldn't be defeated unless it was beheaded. Leon, however, dismissed the significance, stating that it didn't matter. Hari's face turned colorless as she realized the dilemma. How would Leon win against the Dullahan without beheading it? Nevertheless, Leon asserted his stance, emphasizing that the outcome would be decided by the knight's honor. He presented himself as the first knight of the Goddess of Light and Justice, the Archduke of Dragonia, and the Lion-Hearted King of Lionheart. He officially sanctioned the honorable knight for the challenge. Without any formalities, the Dullahan launched an attack on Leon, swinging his heavy greatsword with force. Yet, to everyone's amazement, Leon effortlessly blocked the powerful swing with his sword, maintaining his position steadfastly. With a swift motion, Leon redirected his sword, knocking Dullahan's greatsword aside. Fixing his gaze upon Dullahan, Leon uttered a single word that held weight and determination. Once. The Dullahan then leaped back and swung his greatsword in a wide arc, leaving the onlookers astounded. Hari's mind raced with worry, realizing the magnitude of such an attack. She couldn't help but shout in concern. However, to everyone's surprise, Leon remained composed and calmly remarked that the Dullahan's steps were too light. In an incredible display of skill, Leon somehow managed to avoid the Dullahan's attack, evading harm while maintaining his position. The observers, including Kim and the others, were left in awe, struggling to comprehend what they had just witnessed. Their astonishment was evident in their reactions and exclamations. Amidst it all, Hari, being the keenest observer, truly understood the intricacies of the battle. Hari's thoughts raced as she recognized Leon's technique. She realized that he had adjusted the weight balance by swiftly attaching a sword guard at the moment the attack made contact with his blade. Additionally, he executed a cross-cut, a move that few would dare to attempt. Extending his sword toward the Dullahan, Leon's voice resounded with determination as he uttered a single word, twice. Leon then instructed the Dullahan to get back into position. It had been quite some time since Dullahan had come across a knight who treated him with the respect of a fellow knight and requested a proper duel. Despite the suggestion to dismount from his horse appearing to be a ploy to escape a difficult situation, Dullahan saw through it. He couldn't help but admire the knight before him, noting the straight posture and the seasoned look of a veteran who had weathered countless battles. The knight's eyes gleamed with determination in pursuit of honor and eminence. With resolve in his voice, Leon declared that he will try to take that sword attack. As the Dullahan launched another assault, Leon skillfully blocked the attack, effortlessly rebounding the force of the greatsword. Undeterred, Leon spoke once more, his voice filled with unwavering confidence. Thrice. Dullahan, recognizing the pinnacle of an honorable knight in Leon, couldn't help but feel a surge of admiration. Leon in turn asked if the Dullahan would continue the duel. The Dullahan recognized Leon as a king of knights to be revered and challenged. At that moment the Dullahan didn't want to use his powers of necromancy. He wanted to fight this man countless times as a knight. He wanted to fight properly, the knightly way, without necromancy, solely with his blade against Leon's. Just like how he used to duel against famed knights when he used to wander around the world with honor, which he had forgotten to do. In a surprising turn of events, the Dullahan's greatsword flew out of its hand, landing behind him. Leon then counted 10th. He commended the Dullahan, remarking on the increasing precision of his swordsmanship, and guessed that he may have recalled memories from his past life. The Dullahan growled in response, inwardly acknowledging the return of the glorious days of his past as an honorable knight. Leon remained unfazed and asked the Dullahan if he would like to continue. With a deep growl, the Dullahan signaled his determination and a skeleton holding the Dullahan's severed head approached. Dullahan picked up its head and knelt before Leon. Holding his head high in his arms, he reflected on the countless massacres and battles fought without honor. The prospect of ending his cursed journey brought him immense joy. He knew there could be no greater redemption. Leon was filled with awe and happiness, acknowledged the Dullahan's remarkable transformation and the restoration of his honor. Placing his hand on Dullahan's head, Leon expressed his intention to pray for him. He offered a prayer, wishing for the god the Dullahan believed in to grant his soul peace. And if he didn't believe in God, then he wished that the goddess to guide him to a peaceful rest. With a gentle smile, Leon expressed his desire to meet the Dullahan, a great knight, someday at the banquet hall of the gods. He invoked a radiant light by saying "Let there be light," that enveloped the entire scene. Dullahan's body gradually started to dissipate and he wished for glory to be bestowed upon Leon Dragonia Lionheart. In this way, the Dullahan finally found peace and was released from his tormented existence. As time passed, Hari and Kim found themselves outside the dungeon, surrounded by busy members of the association. They reflected on the events that had transpired, still in awe of Leon's ability to fulfill his promise and bring an end to the Dullahan through an honorable duel. Curiosity lingered regarding the radiant light that had enveloped the area after the battle. Kim speculated that it might have been the divine power, as that explains why the undead had disappeared thereafter. Hari wondered why Leon hadn't utilized that power earlier, to which Leon interjected, emphasizing that if he had done that, then the honorable knight would have met his end as a necromancer. He believed that a knight lives for honor, and honor should be earned through actions fueled by willpower. So he believed Dullahan had received what he deserved as a noble knight. Leon then nonchalantly declared his intention to collect the loot, explaining that where there's a battle, there's a treasure to be claimed. Hari, Kim, and Leon examined the loot, marveling at the item's power and value. Among the loot were the Dullahan's greatsword and cape, which caught their attention. However, when Leon spotted a dark orb among the loot, he immediately expressed disdain for such an item, considering it nothing more than the garbage that causes chaos. Without hesitation, he shattered the dark orb with a single punch, leaving Hari and Kim frozen in surprise. The final results of the dungeon were the Dullahan's cape, Dullahan's greatsword, as well as various mana stones and other items, and the Hanam gate had been successfully cleared. Hari, weary and sleep-deprived, held a food trolley in her hands, her eyes adorned with dark circles. She reflected on the past 4 days since Leon's return to Earth, acknowledging the whirlwind of events that had unfolded. Frustrated by the burdensome tax situation, she couldn't help but express her exhaustion. Her thoughts wandered to the initial predicament caused by taxes, prompting a memory of Leon's furious reaction. He had rebuked her, questioning her audacity to ask a king from another nation for taxes. In response, Hari suggested an alternative payment method using mana stones. However, Leon dismissed her, asserting that a king should not concern himself with such trivial matters, leaving Hari stunned by his response. Yet amidst the challenges, they had gained new followers who embraced the cause of introducing divine power into the land. As a group of people gathered before Leon, an old man inquired about the method of paying the tithe. Leon took a moment to contemplate before declaring a tithe amount of 19 trillion, requesting 90% of their crop yield. Leon emphasized the generosity of this arrangement. However, the old man was flabbergasted by the suggestion, expressing that taxes and the costs of living were already too burdensome. He couldn't believe that paying 90% of their crop yield as tithe would be feasible. Leon gazed at the old man and the rest of the group, addressing them directly. He questioned their concerns about going hungry as followers of the goddess, assuring them that welfare, costs of living, and food would be taken care of by his guild. Hanhari approached the old man, holding a report in her hand, and brought up the topic of blessed rice. She informed them that the rice had an incredibly high appraisal value. The old man and old woman looked at Hanhari with confusion, expressing their bewilderment. Their shock escalated when they discovered that every 80 kilograms of rice was being sold for an exorbitant price of $120,000. The old man couldn't believe it, questioning how much they would have left even if they gave 90% as tithe. The old woman, on the other hand, showed faith and excitement in the situation. Observing this turn of events, Leon regarded the situation with a faint smile. Hanhari then recalled that the biggest problem she had faced was Leon's residence. When Leon entered the room, he erupted in anger, comparing the place to a battlefield and expressing his dissatisfaction with the absence of artwork. This caught Hari off guard. In her memory, Hari remembered how Leon's rage led him to demand a luxurious bed, standby servants, and artwork that he could admire at any given moment. In her desperation, she called someone on the phone, apologizing for the late hour. Hari recounted how she had to search for a suite room in 5-star hotels until 2 a.m. just to rent one. Overwhelmed, she sat on her knees, crying and begging for forgiveness, imploring Leon to sleep. Eventually, the compromise was made to have at least a painting or a ceramic piece displayed in the 5-star hotel room. Presently, Hanhari stood outside the room, holding a food trolley in her hands. She called out to Leon, addressing him as Your Majesty and informing him of her arrival. A voice from inside instructed her to enter, and as she stepped into the room, Hari asked if Leon was feeling okay. Leon responded positively, confirming that he was fine. Hari approached him as he drank wine, informing him that it was time for breakfast. Leon acknowledged her words and inquired if she had eaten yet. Hari admitted that she hadn't eaten, to which Leon advised her to prioritize her meals and not skip them. With a nervous expression, Hari responded affirmatively. While looking at the food she had brought for Leon, Hari thought to herself that it looked good and decided that she would have a sandwich or something similar later. Unexpectedly, Leon invited her to have a seat. Hari was taken aback and looked at him in shock. A red hue spread across her face as she wondered if he was going to share the meal with her. Filled with happiness, she sat down on the chair and started giggling. However, her joy was short-lived as Leon questioned her actions. Hari, confused, asked for clarification and apologized, not understanding what Leon meant. He looked at her coldly and questioned why she wasn't making sure the ribs were easy to eat instead. Hari, still puzzled, expressed her belief that Leon intended to share the meal. In response, Leon gave her a stern look and pointed out that in which country do kings and peasants dine together. Hari was left speechless, unable to provide a reply, and remained in a state of bewilderment. Outside the building named Riverside, a black car stood parked. Inside the car, Hari informed Leon about the support funding and resettlement aid provided by the Hunter Association. She assured him that although it wouldn't compare to a palace, they would ensure his comfort. Leon acknowledged their consideration and stated that he couldn't ask for too much as a guest, leaving the matter in Hari's hands. She turned back to address Leon regarding the distribution of loot, but he reiterated his previous instruction for her to handle it herself. However, he expressed a liking for the cape and requested to keep it. Upon their arrival at their destination, they exited the car. Hari informed Leon that they had reached their location, explaining that it was close to the Hunter Association and had a helicopter pad on the top floor for convenience. She inquired if it met his expectations, referring to it as not being bad. Meanwhile, Leon noticed an unfamiliar snowman-like structure and questioned its presence. As they entered the building, a voice greeted Hari, addressing her as the assistant manager of the Hunter Association. Hari looked ahead in confusion, realizing that their visit was supposed to be a secret. She asked the man who he was, and he laughed lightly before revealing himself as Park Jong-chun, the director of Dujung Group's Food of the Future. Hari repeated the name, recognizing Dujung Group as one of the top 3 keyball groups in the nation. She couldn't help but wonder why the director of such a prominent group was waiting for them. Park Jong-chun then shifted his attention to Leon, acknowledging him as the famous survivor. Hari suspected that he had already known about their arrival. Park Jong-chun extended his hand with a smile, introducing himself to Leon. However, Leon remained motionless, and after a few moments, he looked at Park Jong-chun with disdain, questioning a mere merchant's desire for a handshake. After Hari and Leon arrived in the room, Hari proceeded to explain that the place they were in was provided by the association for a year. She assured Leon that the association would take care of utility and rent expenses, relieving him of any worries. Leon, standing near a window, responded with a non-committal sound. Hari continued, mentioning the availability of room service and cleaning maids for Leon to utilize. She felt relieved, knowing that the information about survivors was top secret, and it was a relief that Leon ignored director Park Jong-chun's presence, considering his unknown intentions. Curious, Hari asked Leon why Park Jong-chun had come to see him. Leon responded, stating that there was only one thing a merchant would want: profit. Hari questioned this, and then it dawned on her. She exclaimed, connecting the dots, realizing that it was about the blessed rice in the Hanam Plains. Hari recalled that the management of information regarding the situation hadn't gone smoothly due to its urgency. A streamer had recorded the situation, and although the association had requested the video to be deleted, she discovered that it had been uploaded again. She wondered if it was the farmer, Mr. Park, who had uploaded it once more. The video depicted Leon standing in the middle of the rice field after invoking the blessings of the goddess Demara upon it. The director of Dujung's Food of the Future, Park Jong-chun, watched the video with anger etched on his face and referred to Leon as an arrogant bastard. He turned to a scientist standing nearby and questioned the authenticity of the rice's effects. The scientist affirmed that it was indeed real. However, Park Jong-chun challenged the scientist, highlighting that human testing had not been conducted, and there was no guarantee that the rice would work on humans just because it had worked on rats. The scientist was left confused and couldn't provide an answer. Just then his secretary interrupted, and she informed Park Jong-chun that they had visited the owner of the rice field to gather more information. She revealed that a dying dog had miraculously recovered, and individuals with chronic inflammation and sinus infections experienced immediate relief after consuming the rice. Moreover, various diseases within the village had been cured after people started eating the rice. While human testing data was lacking, the effects were already apparent. Park Jong-chun, wearing a smug smile, acknowledged that the rice did indeed work. However, his expression turned into anger as he recalled Leon's refusal to shake hands with him. He vented his frustration, proclaiming that Leon had the audacity to call him the director of Dujung Group, a mere merchant. The secretary emphasized the need to obtain the rice, emphasizing its limitless power. Park Jong-chun agreed, realizing the significance of acquiring the rice. Filled with rage, Park Jong-chun slammed his hand on the table, expressing his frustration at Leon's perceived arrogance. He believed that Leon thought highly of himself solely because of the rice, and he saw it as a direct challenge to his own status and authority. With an evil smile, Park Jong-chun declared that Leon was just like other survivors who believed that their previous world was the best. Park Jong-chun declared that he would overpower Leon with the culture shock. He took out his phone, determined to take action. After returning to Earth, Leon had set 3 primary goals. Firstly, he aimed to spread faith in divinity. He observed that while there were numerous gods and followers on Earth, what was actually important was that divine power didn't exist. A god was supposed to embrace faith and bestow blessings upon the world, but humans were falling ill, and the lands were becoming contaminated. In order to utilize divine power, Leon believed a new faith was necessary, requiring more people to believe in the new god he represented. Secondly, Leon aimed to reform the Knights Templar. In this world, there was no organization of fighters who wielded divine power. If Leon, as the guardian of the Holy Grail and the king of the Lion Heart, could be considered a demigod, then the Knights Templar were like saints. They were knights of the gods, capable of using divine power to combat evil and maintain balance and order. Lastly, Leon desired to eliminate all the evil thriving on Earth, recover divine power, and elevate the Knights Templar. He recognized the challenge of finding worthy Knights Templar in the current state of the world but remained undeterred. Fulfilling his duties and restoring order was paramount to him, regardless of the circumstances. As Leon contemplated his goals, Hari interrupted his thoughts, informing him about the official meeting request. Considering the situation, Leon saw no reason to decline the meeting if the necessary procedures had been followed. He nodded in agreement, indicating his willingness to hear them out. Leon remained composed and silent as Park Jong-chun and his men stood before him. Park Jong-chun expressed his gratitude for the meeting, but Leon gave no response and merely observed them with a detached gaze. Internally, Park Jong-chun seethed with anger, but he maintained his composure, realizing that he had to play along for the sake of his business interests. He mentioned bringing a small gift and had his men present a metal box before Leon. Park Jong-chun anticipated Leon's surprise and believed that the luxury item inside the box would captivate him. He expected Leon to be so enamored with it that he would beg Park Jong-chun to become his manager. However, Leon's response was not what he had anticipated. Leon casually stated that since Park Jong-chun had put in the effort, he would accept the gift. This caught Park Jong-chun off guard, and he struggled to control his anger. He thought to himself, perplexed by Leon's attitude, that it seemed as if Leon was doing him a favor by accepting the gift. Trying to maintain his composure, Park Jong-chun forced a smile and suggested that Leon check what the gift was, expressing confidence that Leon would like it. Leon expressed his frustration, remarking that he didn't have the effort to explain etiquette to Park Jong-chun. He turned to Hari and instructed her to open the box. Hari acknowledged the order and approached the box. As she lightly pressed it with her fingers, the box started to open automatically. With a questioning tone, she inquired about the contents of the box. Park Jong-chun proudly revealed that they were the most elite weapons crafted by the master craftsmen of the Dujung group. He offered Leon the freedom to choose whichever weapon he liked from the selection. Hari asked in shock if all these weapons were unique rank items crafted by the master craftsmen of the Dujung group. Park Jong-chun proudly affirmed her statement and said that they were all unique ranked items, the cream of the crop. Park Jong-chun then turned to Leon and said that he had heard that he will be working as a hunter from now on, so these weapons will be a great help to him. Hari, still in shock, confirmed that these were unique ranked weapons crafted by the Dujung group's master craftsmen. She couldn't believe that Park Jong-chun was casually handing out such high-quality weapons, which couldn't even be purchased with money. She recalled only seeing these weapons in YouTube videos when she was a student. However, Leon looked at the weapons and questioned their usefulness, referring to them as low-rank weapons. This statement shocked Park Jong-chun, who exclaimed in disbelief, while Hari questioned Leon's classification of the weapons. Leon clarified his perspective, emphasizing the significance of the star's aura and holy blessings in the art of crafting a superior sword. He implied that the weapons in question were devoid of the essential divine elements. He raised a question regarding Park Jong-chun's approach, wondering if he merely viewed weapons as mere tools for hunting beasts. Park Jong-chun's face was covered in sweat as he struggled to comprehend Leon's words. He wondered if Leon wanted him to dry the swords like one dries peppers out in the sun and offers prayers to them. Leon criticized Park Jong-chun as unfaithful, implying that he lacked the understanding and reverence for divine elements in weapon craftsmanship. Park Jong-chun, flustered, attempted to explain that it was a misunderstanding, desperately trying to salvage the situation. Leon, unimpressed by Park Jong-chun's weapons, sarcastically acknowledged that merchants are bound to show off their items wherever they go. He then retrieved an old sword from a spatial dimension and commented that it was only good enough for killing chickens and cows, but he would try it out. Park Jong-chun was initially shocked by Leon's ability to summon a sword from space, but he then noticed that it was an old sword. He thought that an old sword was all Leon had and questioned if Leon was underestimating his weapons. So he expressed his desire to see what Leon's sword could do, still believing that his own weapons were superior. Park Jong-chun turned to Hari and addressed her as assistant manager Han Hari Nim. He offered her the opportunity to try one of the weapons as well. Hari, surprised by the suggestion, confirmed if Park Jong-chun was referring to her. She looked at Leon for permission and he nodded in affirmation. Hari approached the weapons and selected a sword that she had admired for 4 years. The sword was crafted by the master craftsman Park Jincheol and was called Dawn. She felt its power and sensed that it had absorbed the dense sun energies from the special gate for 10 days. Hari asked Leon if she could really use this sword. Leon, still seated on the sofa, casually questioned why she would need permission to swing a toy around. Park Jong-chun couldn't help but call Leon a bastard in his mind when he heard him belittle their weapons. Hari then observed Leon's sword, which he held horizontally. She poured her powers onto the sword, causing a fiery red aura to envelop it. With determination, she exclaimed that she would give it a try and swung her sword at Leon's sword with full power. To their astonishment, Hari's sword broke upon impact. Leon had not even moved his sword or infused any power into it, yet the sword used to attack shattered. Hari looked at her broken sword in shock, while Park Jong-chun was even more shocked by the outcome. As Leon placed his sword back into space, he expressed his disappointment, remarking that it was worse than he had anticipated and that it had been a waste of time. He decided to shorten the duration of the meeting and gave Park Jong-chun and his men 3 minutes. Park Jong-chun was taken aback by Leon's abrupt decision and attempted to speak, but his thoughts were consumed by disbelief over the fact that Dawn, the strongest weapon of the Dujung group, had shattered. Eventually, he bowed along with his men and expressed his desire to acquire the patent rights for the rice grains. Leon looked at him, puzzled, and asked for clarification. Park Jong-chun explained that they were willing to pay for the rice grains, stating that according to their calculations, it was worth $140 million. However, internally, Park Jong-chun believed that the rice was worth much more. There was no way rice grains that could cure cancer would be valued so low. However, he also speculated that someone like Leon, who he considered a savage, wouldn't comprehend the true value of $140 million. He anticipated that once Leon discovered the actual worth of the rice, he would be astounded. Leon questioned Park Jong-chun's proposition, asking if he was suggesting buying the rice with money. Park Jong-chun smiled, thinking that he had caught Leon's interest, and confirmed his intention, adding that the Dujung group would require a contract granting them a monopoly over the rice. He even hinted that he could raise the price if Leon desired. But before Park Jong-chun could continue, Leon's demeanor changed. A strong aura enveloped the room, and an illusion of a lion appeared behind Leon. In a tone filled with anger, Leon rebuked Park Jong-chun, questioning his audacity to insult divinity. With anger-infused words, Leon reprimanded Park Jong-chun, accusing him of insulting divinity. The pressure radiating from Leon left Park Jong-chun and his followers frozen in fear, struggling to breathe. Park Jong-chun's gaze fixated on the illusionary lion figure behind Leon, and his thoughts raced with the realization that he might meet his end. He fell to his knees, cold sweat streaming down his face, unable to articulate his innocence. Leon chastised Park Jong-chun for his ignorance and lack of civilization. He emphasized that the crop they discussed was born from a land blessed by the goddess Demra, and it held a value that could not be bought with money alone. Gratitude and faith were the true payment required. With a scornful look, Leon questioned Park Jong-chun's desire to possess divine products from a goddess he did not believe in. Park Jong-chun, unable to respond, could only click his tongue in acknowledgement. After Park Jong-chun's group had left, Hari questioned if it was wise to let them go, considering his significant influence. She expressed her concerns to Leon, acknowledging his perspective on Park Jong-chun as a mere merchant but still influential. Leon dismissed Hari's concerns, asserting that he was not affected by someone as vulgar as Park Jong-chun. He swiftly changed the subject, inquiring about the readiness of what he had requested. Hari informed Leon that the association had called and she questioned if Leon was planning to take the test, as it would make things easier. Leon's anger flared at the suggestion, incredulous that he, the king, would be subjected to such a test. Confused, Hari asked why Leon had expressed the desire to go if he didn't intend to take the test. Leon clarified that his intention was to find useful soldiers and that he would be the one to test them personally. Hari found this request challenging to fulfill and hesitated in her response. However, Leon's commanding tone left no room for debate. He ordered Hari to make it possible, causing tears to well up in her eyes as she realized she couldn't deny his request. Outside the Hunter Association, Kim Do-han recognized Gu Di-sung, an unaffiliated D-rank hunter, and greeted him, remarking on his presence for another year. Kim Do-han, the team manager, acknowledged Di-sung's return and speculated that he was there for a retest. As they entered the building, Kim Do-han commented on Di-sung's hard work and asked if he believed his rank would be higher this time. Di-sung chuckled in response, while Kim Do-han questioned his expectations for the year. Kim Do-han even extended an invitation for Di-sung to join his team, praising his dedication and skills and predicting his quick rise as an ace. Di-sung pondered the offer, considering that even those lacking talent could achieve a C rank, while he had remained a D rank for 10 years. He recognized that being part of the mining team was not as bad as people perceived it to be. However, Di-sung resolved to continue for a little longer, driven by the need to support his family financially. He aimed to rise to at least a C rank to alleviate the burden he felt. Suddenly, Kim Do-han's expression shifted to surprise as he noticed a foreigner nearby. Di-sung speculated that the foreigner might be European, while Kim Do-han suggested that he could be a foreign laborer from a poorer country in the West. Ji-sung observed that the foreigner had a regal appearance. Kim Do-han approached the foreigner, Leon, and initiated a conversation, asking how he was. However, Leon, filled with disdain, looked back at Kim Do-han and retorted, questioning who he thought he was speaking to and referring to him as a peasant. Kim Do-han's spirit seemed to depart from his body upon hearing Leon's disdainful remark, leaving Ji-sung in a state of shock with his mouth agape. As Leon continued ahead, Kim Do-han, attempting to regain composure, commented to Ji-sung that Leon seemed to have learned Korean in a peculiar manner. Ji-sung, still recovering from the encounter, stuttered in agreement. Suddenly, Leon turned back, and his eyes locked with Ji-sung's. Ji-sung found himself frozen in place, his body trembling uncontrollably. Witnessing Ji-sung's distress, Kim Do-han inquired if he was hurt or experiencing discomfort. Ji-sung, his face covered in a cold sweat, struggled to comprehend the overwhelming sensation overtaking him. He felt as if something immense was pressing down on him, making it difficult to breathe. Just then, an announcement was made, calling for Gu Ji-sung, numbered 57, to proceed to interview room 2. Breaking free from his frozen state, Ji-sung managed to respond, affirming that he was coming. Leon glanced back and made a comment, indicating that there was only one person worthy of attention. Meanwhile, in his thoughts, Leon expressed his disappointment at the lack of formidable individuals present for the tests. He deemed it pathetic that the only participants were low-ranking hunters or newly awakened individuals. Soon, another announcement was made, summoning Leon Dragonia Lionheart, numbered 77, to interview room 9. Leon, maintaining his expectations, acknowledged that greatness couldn't be expected right from the start. As Leon entered room 9, an examiner greeted him and confirmed his identity as number 77, Leon Dragonia Lionheart. Leon, asserting his superiority, corrected the examiner, demanding to be addressed as Your Majesty, and he called the examiner a peasant. The examiner complied, addressing him as such, pointing to a measuring device in front of them. The examiner requested Leon to place his hand on it for the test. Leon glanced at the device and then at his profile card held by the examiner. With a tone of contempt, he expressed his disdain, calling the examiner a fool. Confused, the examiner apologized, but Leon interrupted, expressing his outrage at a mere peasant attempting to test the honor of a knight. The examiner, attempting to clarify, explained that it was not them but the device that conducted the test. However, Leon dismissed the notion, adamantly asserting that only honorable knights and gods could measure the power of knights. He refused to accept a machine as a valid means of evaluation. Taken aback, the examiner wondered why Leon had come if he rejected the testing process. Leon averted his gaze and revealed that he had come to find useful soldiers, but even the judges present were lacking in his eyes. The examiner silently questioned the audacity of openly seeking recruits in such a manner. Leon was unimpressed and declared his dissatisfaction and inquired about the next test. The examiner informed Leon that there was a test at the gate. Leon acknowledged the information and expressed his belief that real skills are demonstrated through consistent training and realistic situations. He declared his intention to go and observe the test. Internally, the examiner questioned whether Leon meant to participate rather than merely observe. After a group of hunters entered the gate, the examiner asked if anyone was feeling dizzy or experiencing any discomfort, as passing through the gate sometimes caused motion sickness. Typically the gates closed once they have been cleared, but a few were left open for occasions like this, such as the sole gate they had entered. The examiner directed everyone inside. Ji-sung contemplated that this year's strength measurement seemed similar to the previous year. He acknowledged the need to perform better in order to achieve a better result. Meanwhile, a hunter expressed surprise at the sight inside the gate and commented on its popularity. Her companion instructed her to turn off her phone. Ji-sung worriedly noted the presence of two newcomers in the group. An elderly man, wearing a happy expression, remarked on the pleasant air. Ji-sung deduced that the majority of the group consisted of D-rank or C-rank hunters, including the elderly man. He also recognized Leon, the foreign laborer he had seen earlier in the lobby, speculating that he too was a newbie considering his participation in the testing at his age. Ji-sung pondered whether it would be alright with most newcomers in the group. Before venturing deeper into the gate, Ji-sung suggested that they introduce themselves and discuss their positions. He introduced himself as Gu Ji-sung, a warrior with 10 years of experience as a hunter. His main position was a dealer. Another young man introduced himself as Shin Ti-hoon, mentioning that he had recently awakened as a hunter and used a shield and spear as his weapons. The girl with Ti-hoon introduced herself as Shin Naehan and stated that she primarily used daggers and was also learning to use the bow and arrow. Sung felt a sense of worry, considering the siblings as beginners who hadn't yet found their main weapons. He asked them if they had ever attended a training center. Taehoon proudly responded that they had spent 3 months in one. Sung was flabbergasted, realizing that they were absolute newcomers. He then turned to an older man and inquired if he had any experience. With a smile, the old man introduced himself as Oh Gangti, in his 5th year as a hunter. He mentioned that his weapon was a gauntlet. Sung noted that despite his age, Gangti had relatively little experience, and the choice of a gauntlet as a weapon might make it challenging to cover the distance that a sword or spear could. Finally, Sung turned his attention to Leon, the foreign laborer, and asked if he could speak Korean. Leon paused, appearing to ponder, and eventually replied that he did not fight. Sung expressed confusion, seeking clarification. Leon then made an analogy, stating that one cannot use a sword made for slaying dragons to kill chickens. Sung was shocked by Leon's response and wondered where he had learned to speak Korean. As they continued walking further into the test area, the examiner explained the task at hand. The participants were required to hunt 50 kobolds, with the possibility of a stronger creature called a Null appearing as well. The examiner assured them that if the situation became too dangerous, he would intervene, urging them to focus on showcasing their skills without worry. Sung couldn't help but worry about the upcoming test. He had concerns about whether they would be able to handle it successfully. He then recalled the incident that happened a few minutes ago. He had noticed that Leon had not brought a weapon and inquired about his lack of a weapon. Naeun offered her bow and arrow to Leon, asking if he knew how to use them. Leon, with the bow in hand, questioned the idea of using such a weapon as a king, expressing his disapproval. He then angrily slammed the bow to the ground, causing Naeun to react in shock and distress. Returning to the present, Sung worried that if things continued in this manner, the test would likely end in failure. Suddenly, he proposed an alternative plan, suggesting that they head to a specific location for hunting. Taehoon acknowledged Sung's greater experience and agreed to his suggestion, mentioning a settlement at the end of the terrain where they could find many kobolds. However, Sung expressed concerns about going to a settlement with their small group, as it would be difficult to escape if they became surrounded. Instead, he presented an alternative strategy. They would focus on hunting cave kobolds, using smoke from nearby grass or leaves to fill the caves and then easily dispatch the kobolds. Taehoon praised his experience and wisdom, but Sung, deep down, felt a sense of disappointment. Despite his efforts to study tutorials and raiding methods, he had only ended up in a low-ranking gate like this. He yearned to be promoted and wondered how long he would remain in the D rank. As the group walked further, Taehoon alerted everyone to the presence of kobolds up ahead. A group of kobolds charged toward them, prompting Sung to instruct Taehoon to block their attacks with his shield. Taehoon followed the instructions and successfully killed one of the kobolds with his spear, remarking on their predictable behavior. However, Naeun warned Taehoon about another approaching kobold. The creature swiftly pounced on Taehoon, pinning him to the ground. Despite managing to stab the kobold, it continued its relentless attempt to bite him, causing Taehoon to scream in fear. Sung swiftly intervened, rescuing Taehoon by delivering a final blow to the kobold. He emphasized the importance of not letting their guard down against fast enemies. Naeun continued to contribute with her arrows, and the old man demonstrated his skills by punching the kobolds with his gauntlets. After the battle, Sung commended everyone's efforts and acknowledged Naeun's kills and the old man's assistance. Taehoon apologized for his earlier mistake, but Sung reassured him, understanding that it was his first time. He expressed satisfaction with the team, except for one person, and looked towards Leon, who had remained inactive during the fight. Curious, Sung asked Leon why he hadn't done anything while they were fighting, with Naeun also expressing her concern. The examiner nervously laughed and assured them that he would take it into account during the grading process. Sung accepted the response and suggested they continue further inside the cave. As they approached the cave, Taehoon noticed it and confirmed its presence. Sung reminded everyone of their plan to set a fire as discussed earlier. They gathered dry grass and positioned it at the entrance of the cave, preparing to ignite it and proceed with their strategy. Leon suddenly questioned Sung if he truly believed that his current efforts were the best he could offer. Sung was taken aback by the sudden question and expressed confusion. He questioned why Leon was speaking up when he hadn't contributed to the situation. Leon insisted on receiving an answer, emphasizing his point. Sung, slightly annoyed, replied, stating that he had used this method 3 times before and had succeeded each time. However, Leon challenged Sung's reliance on past experience, pointing out his limited life experience. Sung grew irritated by Leon's comment, dismissing the significance of experience due to Leon's younger age. He proceeded to ignite the grass, signaling the group to gather around and prepare for the incoming kobolds from the cave. With unanimous agreement, the group prepared for the impending fight. As the kobolds rushed out of the cave, Tihun alerted the others, exclaiming that they were approaching. Nayin swiftly aimed her arrows at the kobolds, ready to strike. Disung hurled a rock, successfully hitting one of the kobolds, while Nayin's arrow found its mark, causing another kobold to fall. Filled with confidence, Disung realized his method was effective and expressed his satisfaction. He encouraged the group to eliminate all the kobolds using the same approach. He continued to throw rocks at the kobolds, contemplating the potential benefits of luring a large group of kobolds and eliminating a few gnolls on the plains. Suddenly, a loud growl shattered the moment. Disung's heart raced as he recognized the sound, a gnoll captain. Fear gripped him as he realized the gnoll captain was the boss of the Soul Station Gate, ranking higher than C. His thoughts raced with fear as he questioned why it had to appear at that moment. The gnoll captain let out a loud growl, causing Nayin to urgently call out to Disung. Fear paralyzed Disung momentarily, but he quickly made a decision. He commanded Tihun to join him in confronting the gnoll captain, while Nayin and Grandpa would handle the kobolds in the cave. As he and Tihun rushed toward the gnoll captain, he realized the need for an experienced member in each team. He understood that sending an inexperienced D-rank fighter against the formidable gnoll captain would be tantamount to suicide. However, he had no choice but to trust Tihun to hold his ground. As they closed in on the gnoll captain, it emitted another ear-splitting howl, causing Tihun to freeze in fear. Disung urgently tried to rally Tihun, shouting at him to regain his composure. However, Tihun's intimidation prevented him from blocking the gnoll captain's attack effectively. Tihun's shield was knocked from his grasp, and he fell to the ground. Disung's desperate shout echoed in the air, expressing his concern and frustration at the situation. He cursed internally, realizing that the outcome could be dire. Tihun looked up in horror at the imposing gnoll captain, while Disung's gaze shifted to the examiner, questioning their inaction. He had expected assistance from the association employee if the situation became dangerous, fearing for Tihun's safety. Driven by frustration and a sense of urgency, Disung sprinted forward, forcefully instructing Tihun to retreat from the dangerous situation. The gnoll captain launched another attack at Tihun, but Disung managed to intercede just in time. He used his shield to block the assault, exerting all his strength. With a deft maneuver, he successfully deflected the gnoll captain's weapon. The enraged gnoll captain growled and launched another assault. Disung evaluated the situation, realizing that victory would have been possible if Tihun had gathered himself. In his current state, they were all in grave danger. Just then, a voice reached Disung's ears, expressing satisfaction with his efforts. Leon appeared on the scene, effortlessly catching the gnoll captain's large blade with his finger. Disung stared in astonishment at the display of Leon's strength, thinking to himself, did he just stop the gnoll captain's attack with one finger? Leon turned his gaze towards Disung and encouraged him to try again. Disung was still shocked and asked for clarification. Leon reminded Disung that he had done it once before, so there was no reason he couldn't do it again. He urged Disung to get up and raise his shield. Confusion covered Disung's face as he looked at Leon. Leon reiterated his instruction, commanding Disung to block the gnoll captain's attack and counterattack swiftly. Disung was overwhelmed by the situation and protested, exclaiming that they were all in danger. Leon's fury erupted as he shouted at Disung, calling him an impertinent peasant and emphasizing the honor bestowed upon a Templar like himself to guide a soldier of Disung's status. He reprimanded Disung for not expressing gratitude for his guidance and demanded that he raise his shield immediately, block, and counterattack. Disung, with a bewildered expression, held his shield, trying to comprehend what had gone wrong. He glanced at the menacing gnoll captain, realizing that he needed to take action in order to survive. The gnoll captain glared at Leon and let out a low growl. In response, Leon's eyes turned cold as he spoke disdainfully, questioning if the ferocious beast had a death wish. The gnoll captain whimpered in fear, its body covered in a cold sweat. Disung watched in shock as the gnoll captain launched an attack on him. Although he managed to block the attack, the force pushed him back, leaving him shaken. He quickly realized the immense strength of the creature and felt a momentary fear of losing his grip on the shield. Leon shouted at Disung, calling him a fool for relying solely on strength and not using his head in battle. He advised Disung to deflect the gnoll captain's attacks and find an opening. Disung, frustrated, questioned what he was supposed to do. Without warning, Leon swiftly kicked Disung's leg, causing him to bend down and evade the gnoll captain's next attack. Leon warned him not to look away from his opponent, urging him to focus. Disung, frozen in fear, acknowledged that blocking the attack head-on would have cost him dearly. Again, Leon shouted, encouraging Disung to utilize his potential and do better. Disung, taken aback by Leon's assertions and struggling to believe in his own potential, doubted himself as a talentless D rank with no exclusive skills. He found it impossible to fathom that he could suddenly possess hidden potential just because Leon believed in him. Nevertheless, Disung steeled himself and prepared for the incoming attack, determined to prove himself. He thought that this time, he might be able to accomplish what seemed impossible before. As the Knoll Captain launched its attack, Disung's thoughts filled with confidence. He believed in his ability to block the attack, repeating to himself that he could do it. With the Knoll Captain's strike landing on Disung's shield, it left a scratch, but Disung successfully managed to deflect the attack. Overjoyed and filled with a sense of achievement, Disung exclaimed in happiness, realizing that he had blocked the attack. However, his moment of triumph was short-lived as the Knoll Captain swiftly punched him in the face, sending him flying through the air. Leon, unimpressed by Disung's progress, clicked his tongue in disappointment. He questioned Disung's inability to see the bigger picture and remarked that he still had a long way to go. Disung's evaluation results for the year were still D rank. Outside the room, two bodyguards stood watch while inside, Leon sat on a chair. He began a conversation with Oh Kang-hyuk, the president of the Korean Hunter Association. Leon revealed that he had known all along that someone like Oh Kang-hyuk, a skilled warrior, couldn't be a mere mercenary. Kang-hyuk removed his mask, which he had used to disguise his face and body, admitting that it had been pointless. Curious, Kang-hyuk asked Leon if he had achieved what he desired from the evaluation. Leon responded that he had obtained a soldier candidate, and reassured Oh Kang-hyuk that there was no need for anxiety as he had no intention of going overseas. The president of the Hunter Association was shocked by Leon's reply and expressed his astonishment at Leon's amazing display of power earlier. He confessed to being nervous due to the impressive strength demonstrated by Leon's majesty. Recalling their encounter with the Knoll Captain, Oh Kang-hyuk remarked that although it was a monster from a D-rank dungeon, it could be considered at least a C-rank boss. Leon, filled with disdain, addressed the Knoll Captain, calling it a dirty bastard and criticizing its failed attempt to become human. He swung his finger at the Knoll Captain, swiftly finishing it off. Kang-hyuk commented on Leon's treatment of the creature as if it were nothing more than a toy. Kang-hyuk changed the topic, offering his assistance if Leon wished to start a guild. He emphasized the importance of fame when establishing an organization of people, explaining that there were limited ways to achieve fame in the present day. He mentioned a red gate in Cheongju that had turned red due to a failed raid, and for a year, no one had been able to clear it. Inside, the red gate was the Jewel of Wisdom, guarded by the boss known as Jagged Spinner. The conversation hinted at a potential quest or challenge that awaited Leon, and the opportunity to gain fame and recognition by conquering the formidable red gate and obtaining the coveted Jewel of Wisdom. In the Cheongju Sports Complex gate, the first team of the KPP Guild ventured inside. As they explored the gate, the vice guild leader, Hoyal, commented to the guild leader that the place seemed like a more advanced civilization than Earth, possibly from the future. Hyori expressed excitement about encountering a gate from the future world. The guild leader acknowledged the futuristic nature of the gate but found it troublesome, realizing that they needed to revise their plans and party organization. Hoyal agreed, noting that they had prepared for a few strong opponents but now faced a different situation. The guild leader noticed a large building nearby and decided to use it as their base camp due to its advantageous height. Once inside the building, the guild leader asked Hoyal if he could see anything, to which Hoyal replied that there was nothing. No NPCs or monsters. The guild leader found it strange, thinking about the absence of people and monsters in such a big city. However, he considered it a fortunate circumstance, as it meant they weren't up against a resistance army or an evil authoritarian force. The guild leader then addressed the KPP guild members, instructing them to remain vigilant and keep a lookout for Jagged Spinner, the supposed boss of the gate. They were about to select an expedition team to explore the area further when suddenly a beam of light blasted off the guild leader's head, shocking everyone present. Hoyal called out the guild leader's name in disbelief, and panic ensued as it became clear that they were under attack. A machine-like entity began firing relentlessly at their location, forcing the guild members to seek cover as explosions rocked their previous position. Hoyal couldn't comprehend the situation, noting that not even the guild leader, who was in a rank tanker, had reacted in time. The members wondered about the nature of this monstrous entity that had caught them off guard. Hoyal, realizing the dire situation they were in, urgently asked if anyone had located the enemy. Hyori replied that she spotted the enemy at the 3 o'clock position but couldn't determine the distance due to the sand dust in the air. She informed Hoyal that the building they were in wouldn't hold for much longer. Hoyal quickly made the decision to fall back in an orderly manner and evacuate the building before it collapsed. As they all ran towards the exit, Hyori expressed concern about the guildmaster's corpse. Hoyal sensed something strange but decided they would come back for the guildmaster later after regrouping. He ordered Hyori to check the exit, and she confirmed that she didn't sense anyone's presence and believed the exit was safe. However, as Hyori exited the building, she suddenly stopped in shock. She felt an itch on her neck and expressed confusion. Hoyal witnessed the scene and called out her name in fear. He noticed wires stained with blood and wondered how long they had been there. Drawing his sword, he commanded everyone to sever the wires and emphasized imbuing their weapons with mana to cut through them. He questioned who their enemy was, whether there was only one, and how long they had been watching them. At that moment, something locked onto their group. A machine-like entity on a building launched a bluish whip-like attack toward Hoyal and his group. The attack hit their position, resulting in a powerful explosion. Hoyal, the only survivor of the attack, had lost one arm and one leg in the process. Fueled by anger and disbelief, he shouted, demanding the machine-like entity to show itself, and called it a piece of shit. As the machine-like entity appeared in front of him, Hoyal couldn't believe his eyes. He realized that it was Jagged Spinner, the one responsible for the attack. In a moment of recollection, Jagged Spinner remembered a memory involving a woman who mentioned a special item that would enable fighting even without ammunition. Hoyal, consumed by rage, tried to confront Jagged Spinner, but before he could finish his sentence, Jagged Spinner unleashed numerous whips, overwhelming Hoyal and ultimately ending his life. Jagged Spinner, after eliminating Hoyal, declared its mission to protect the city. The report on the Chengju Gate raid indicated that the first raid team from the KKP Hunter Guild had a count of 58 members with no survivors. The status of the second and third raid teams was unknown. Additionally, it was stated that the gate boss Jagged Spinner's difficulty has been promoted to red. As a result, the Chengju Gate raid was put on an indefinite pause. Outside the gate, a group of hunters had gathered. A muscular man commented on the unpleasant weather, remarking that it matched what he had seen in videos. His teammates suggested avoiding entering the city deeper into the gate due to the higher likelihood of Jagged Spinner appearing. Another guild's leader, a white-haired man, spoke up and confirmed their agreement to be the ones to retrieve the Jewel of Wisdom. He mentioned that the rest of the rewards and a share of 60 billion would go to the other guild. The personnel who entered the Chengju Sports Complex gate were listed as the Golden Lion Guild, led by S-rank Guildmaster Jumchial, a rank Vice Guildmaster Yonha, and 47 others. In addition, there were near S-rank Guild Tisung and 48 mercenaries from the Magic Tower, as well as a rank Korean Hunter Association Hanhari and an additional individual. Hanhari poured tea for Leon, addressing him as Your Majesty. Leon tasted the tea and found it to be satisfactory, asking Hari about its name. She informed him that it was barley tea. With the fourth raid team assembled, the operation in the Chengju Sports Complex gate began.
It's the end of this video. What? Like and subscribe for more videos.